Namaste. If you think that you're always right and you're afraid to be wrong, you're going through a breakup, you've been ghosted, and somebody told you you're too intense, too much, high energy, then this video is for you. If you have a fear of being wrong, that could be an emotional defense. I've been getting emails from people who have been telling me about what they've been going through during their breakup. I've been a board certified practicing family doctor and seen over 130,000 patients. They've told me so many stories, and I wanted to share some of these because I've experienced these too, and I was able to work through them by being single for 7 years. I acted like I knew better because I didn't want to face my own confusion. I acted like I knew better, that I was better than the other person, because I didn't want to accept myself, in other words. I needed to be right, because if I wasn't, then maybe I was the problem. That's really good. We're labeling something here. We're not trying to fix and control the emotion. We're labeling it and saying, look, I just accept this about myself. As an example, when I was on drugs and alcohol, I almost died 7 years ago. And first time I said I'm an addict was one of the best things that ever happened because I was able to label it. Now, it's not a bad or good thing. In the practice of mind hygiene, there's nothing positive or negative. I criticized him so I wouldn't criticize myself. Have you ever found yourself being condescending, blaming the other person? Those are narcissistic traits. Just understanding this is okay, and figuring out a way to forgive yourself through this process will be one of the best next steps that you can take to rely on yourself and empower others later. I made his emotions invalid just so I wouldn't have to feel mine. I didn't give my partner validation because I didn't validate myself. People who are looking for external validation, it's unfortunate because they don't experience self-love. And I was there for several years. The journey from self-hate to self-love took about 5 years of me being single on purpose, no dating, no talking to an ex, just me in solitude with my own thoughts. I know it sounds like it could be hard, but is it hard to be in a relationship where you're always fighting, resenting, having problems? Or is it better that you understand why you did some of the things that you did, forgive yourself first, and then move to the next relationship? I forced the connection to make it feel real. I didn't want a conversation, I wanted control. People who try to control the environment, always saying that it should be like this, it's because in their mind, you could see them scrolling, texting all the time, not being mindful, being mindless, absent-minded, mind over matter, eating bad, drinking, not working out, taking care of their health. It's because they want to control that. They want to do it. They want to keep the promises that they make to themselves. I wanted to do that for several years. But until I lived alone, kept the promises when nobody was watching me, that's when I knew I was ready to receive love. And when I was able to forgive myself for the things that I did to other people, maybe writing and labeling these emotions over and over, like 100 times, for like a couple of years, living alone, being in solitude, was when I was able to embrace it. When you embrace, if you want to call it discomfort, or you just say, I need to be the next best version, you'll be able to create like a mission, vision, purpose. You'll be able to help somebody else. Imagine that day where somebody says, look at you, you look great, you're glowing, your clothes fit well. How are you speaking so compassionately? Where is this empathy coming from? And you're going to tell them that you lived alone, you took care of yourself, you didn't try to control or fix your mind, you accepted it instead. Let's read a couple more comments. I confused leadership with emotional control. I weaponized intelligence so I didn't have to face my own insecurities. I made decisions for both of us because I didn't trust I was lovable without fixing things. And this is where that dynamic shift takes place in relationships. In the last 2 relationships I've had after being in therapy for several years, I was able to prove that this process, mind hygiene, works. And the framework where you just sit down with your partner and you say, look, this is what I did. This is what happened with me. How do you feel about that? Instead of talking about the other person. And that's where dialectical behavioral therapy comes in, which mind hygiene heavily draws from. Dialectical behavioral therapy teaches that 2 things can be true at once. You could be hurting and still be responsible for how you respond. As an example, let's say we wanted to go to a restaurant together and she was like, no, you always choose that restaurant. Well, what could happen there is you could develop some resentment right away. And you can say, I can't believe that person said that. That's implicit. So it'll be an implicit bias of resentment. And you may not even know it because the behavior is so mindless and you're Explicit bias is judgment, meaning I can't believe they said that, instead of saying, oh, I understand why they said that, and let's write it down. And then maybe a couple of days later, you write down, and this is like a physical, right? A physical in a relationship. You have to just keep on doing it all the time. You sit there and you're like, look, how has the week been for you? Has it been going okay? And remember, you're not taking any risks. We're writing all of this down. How has the week gone for you? Oh, you know what? There was that time where you wanted to go to a restaurant, and I wrote it down that there was a few times where we went to the same restaurant that you wanted to, and I developed a resentment towards that. I want to know what I can do to make this situation better, and maybe we can come to some type of a resolution by ACEs, your life with mind hygiene, which is accept your awareness, communicate your compassion, embrace your empathy, and soften the process. And this is dialectical behavioral therapy. How about you just accept that this happened, communicate with compassion by taking an action step. Okay, let's schedule in what we're going to do. And that's an agreed upon action. So you're not just saying something. Embrace with empathy. Understand that this person might be wanting to go here because there was some sentiment when they were younger, as an example. S is soften the process. Don't make it seem like writing and communicating is hard. Is it harder to get in arguments all the time? Or is it harder to sit down and just communicate? That's where Mind Hygiene can come in and help you. Mind Hygiene is a process where you write, and there will be a link in the description to a PDF, where you write 1 second every 90 minutes for the rest of your life. And the reason why I say 1 second is so you can sit down, walk into the gym for 1 second and then leave, is what I tell patients. There's nothing to do though. There's nothing fancy to do. This is your new workout program. And if you want to be the next best version of yourself, you're going to have to do this journey alone. There are people who will say, and I hear a lot of this from like the motivational content guys, where they're like, you can't do this alone. You're not alone. You can't do this alone. There are other people out there suffering like you. You don't want to do this alone. There are other people that are there. You'll find the right person. You don't want to think like that. I'm not the person who's going to say that. I'm not the person who's going to say, be comfortable. You're going to have to live in discomfort for a long time. It could be a very long time, and there's no set time until you say, look, I have nothing bad to say about myself. I understand myself. I've written everything down. I don't ever talk to anybody when I have a problem. I first write it down. I first mind hygiene my mind. I'll start off with 1 second, but I might go 45 minutes. And I just keep on doing it until I understand it. Sometimes you might go 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I can show you guys some of my writing at a later time. But what I would suggest is that you just write, start off with this, continue to do it, be mindful, be present during these times. And the more you do it, the better you get at it, and you'll experience a better life. In the next video, what we'll talk about is how I didn't heal first, so I tried to manage her emotions instead of mine.